Welcome to your future.
Today we are talking about collaborative change methods. We are going to look at 6 different types of methods and analyze what they have in common. Before we get into that though, we probably ought to define what collaborative change methods even means, and in order to do that, let's talk about what it doesn't mean. When your boss at your job, or the president of your club, makes a decision from on high and says, "This is how we are going to do it," that is a top-down decision. It is not a collaborative method. Collaborative methods enable decisions to be made by the whole group from all levels that are involved rather than by the ruler or the leadership or the manager, whatever that might be. This more holistic approach to decision making allows the wisdom of the masses to in essence be crowdsourced so that the ultimate decision is informed by more than just the leadership. So how do we get the wisdom of the masses? For that, let's talk about 6 specific collaborative change methods. The first is appreciative inquiry, which replaces traditional problem solving with a search for the organization's positive core. Human systems grow toward their focus, so when participants identify past successes, they collaborate to envision and design a better future based on those successes. The collaborative arts is a method that leverages artistic modalities such as music, theater, visual arts, etc., to create emotional connectivity where groups can engage artistically. They solve complex problems through activities like playback theater or group drumming. This makes difficult concepts visible and levels the playing field to unleash unique creative potential. Next, we'll talk about liberating structures. Liberating structures consists of many practical models for robust and unique conversations that can be strung together depending on the desired outcome. Participants shape their own direction. The conversations are structured in unique ways to rapidly generate ideas and sift the good ones to the top. Open space technology operates in high complexity and high conflict situations. Participants create their own marketplace by posting topics they care about and self-managing the resulting breakout sessions. Participants can choose when to join or leave a discussion group. T-groups are laboratories for learning through interpersonal dynamics. Participants receive immediate feedback on real-time behavior. Procedurally, 10 to 12 strangers sit in a circle without a formal leader, agenda, or rules, and this vacuum forces spontaneous interactions, allowing participants to test new behaviors. Finally, World Cafe accesses collective intelligence by viewing dialogue as a living network. Participants sit at small tables to explore key questions. After each round, they rotate to new tables to cross-pollinate ideas and link insights across the entire room. These are the collaborative change methods that we are comparing and contrasting in this video. So now let's dive into a thematic analysis of these methods. Each of these collaborative methods fit into 8 design elements, and we're going to look at 3 of them: purpose, system, and experience. Purpose asks, if everything goes excellently, what is the ideal result of this collaborative change meeting? System asks, who is involved and what do they bring? And finally, experience asks what the process is in order to implement the method and use it well. To conduct this thematic analysis, the first thing I did was look for key words which I pulled out of papers that described the various collaborative change methods. For example, if I look at the paper describing T-groups and I go to the experience section, I might find words and phrases such as educational, generate new idea, examine, interactions, unique, and informal. I identify these as the key words to describe that section, and I collect them in a single cell. I do the same thing for the keywords in every method for each of these design elements. And then I do coding, which means that I am organizing the words based on the broad category into which these words fit. For example, I may take generate new idea from the cell we just described and lump it in with other words from other methods such as new, stimulating, self-authorship, and creative, and label that the creativity block or code. As I do this, themes begin to present themselves. And I can start looking at which themes have representation from the most number of methods and which themes have the most number of entries at all. This gives me a good idea of what the broad takeaways from the entire set of methods might be. Note that I use deductive reasoning to take the coded keywords and specify them into a single theme. Then I use inductive reasoning to identify expected themes and find support for it among the coded keywords. We have three themes under purpose. Well, three themes under all of them, but we're starting with this one where we talk about assessing collective intelligence and collective wisdom and getting everybody together. And so I'm calling this theme the communal mind. And by that I mean appreciative inquiry talks about a cooperative, co-evolutionary search for the best in people and in their organizations. Collaborative arts aims to ensure that collective experience and knowledge can be tapped into and leveraged. Liberating structures, the quote is, tap into the collective intelligence. And World Cafe assumes that people already have the wisdom and creativity to address challenges, but it is built to access mutual intelligence. And so that is the communal mind. The second theme that I've identified is solutions, because each of these collaborative methods is looking for a way to not just bring people together and engage them, but to result in solutions. Okay, liberating structures focuses on providing a better way to do daily work. Collaborative arts talks about solving an issue or problem together. And open space technology, situations where a major issue must be resolved. So we have all these quotes talking about solutions, prioritizing solutions. It's not enough just to bring people together and to find what it is that they have to bring, but what they have to bring has to matter, and it has to matter on that solutions level. The third theme I'm calling totality, and that is each of these methods seems to be reaching as broadly as possible, whether that is engaging the whole human, not just the professional parts, not just the logical parts, right? Collaborative arts talks about whole brain solutions. It wants to use both rational and emotional, but also the entire organization. It wants to bring together the perspectives and the competencies from everybody. Liberating structures describes itself as versatile and adjustable in order to be used in a wide variety of situations and possibilities. T-Groups uses experiential learning, and World Cafe uses wisdom, creativity, and cultivation in describing how its users are affected by the experience. So in this drive to find, the solutions that work and the communal mind that can produce the solutions, there is a totality going on that reaches beyond that and tries to engage not just a person and their mind, but the whole person in order to bring out the best that that person can produce. When we move on to system, remember we're thinking about the people and the perspectives and all of this coming together, and so we're looking at slightly different themes. One of them is that I found was reframing roles. And that is because organizations and people in hierarchies, and even people just in groups, they're going to form roles. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but while leadership is often necessary, the role of leadership has to shift from directing to supporting, facilitating, and honoring the group's process. And so that puts leadership in a very different position. Appreciative inquiry outlines specific before, during, and after roles for leadership, sponsors, and the advisory team, and so that they clarify the agenda and they align their strengths. Open space technology establishes sponsor requirements where leaders must be prepared to honor and respect all the participants and then even quote crazy ideas. And so the leadership moves from ruling on high to being a part of the process. The next theme I've identified under system is where we minimize expert dependency and decentralize the control, and I'm calling that autonomy. With appreciative inquiry, we have leadership and sponsors must participate as an equal essential voice. T-Groups asserts that it is possible to have successful T-Groups without a formal trainer because it is preferable to have members do the work. Open Spaces describes a facilitator as doing 20 minutes of upfront work and then apparently doing nothing for the rest of the group so that the group can self-manage. And so that autonomy, if we think back to purpose, right, that totality and the communal mind, it's all coming together in order to facilitate this autonomy. The third theme under systems is psychological safety, and that's no surprise to people who know me and know what I've been studying, but the system section highlights that in order for collaboration to work, the environment must be intentionally designed to foster trust and safety. And if you don't know what psychological safety is, this is an environment in which participants feel that they can risk speaking their mind, they can risk saying things that maybe challenge the system without fear of reprisal, without fear of social humiliation or punishment, anything like that. That's psychological safety. And so it requires a lot of tolerance from every person because people are going to say things that offend you. That's the way people are. But in each of these collaborative change methods, what we see over and over is that people have to be free to express new, challenging, even difficult ideas because that's where the change comes from. Now those ideas can be evaluated and whatever we do with those things, but it matters that you are willing to say them up front. And that brings us to the themes found under experience. Under experience, we're now talking about the process. You know, how does each of these methods turn a conversation into something very, very useful? And so the first theme that I've identified has to do with the sequences and the cycles and things like that. And I'm calling this structure. Right? So liberating structures employs a specific sequence of steps and timing where it is broken into easy logical sequenced chunks. Appreciative inquiry has the 4D cycle, collaborative arts has the 4 production phases, World Cafe has the rounds of conversation and the tables, and so in each of these we have some sort of structure that is unique enough to create the conditions where that collaboration can take place, and it takes place differently across all of these methods. The next theme that I want to identify, I'm calling conversation. But over and over and over, what we're seeing is intimate, small group interactions, parallel processing. Even if we start off with like an individual thinking about something, they're going to come together and they're going to bounce those ideas off of another person, whether in pairs or in groups of 3 or 4. In T groups, you may have a group of 10 or 12, but you've always got some kind of small group processing happening. And it seems to me that conversation keeps coming up as like the foundational building block of any collaborative effort. It's almost like the atom of this molecule. Okay, in open space, it's self-selected small groups. In World Cafe, it's the tables and a small conversation cluster, but those conversations are always happening. The third theme that I have identified under experience is that of synergy. And this theme revolves around the idea that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, which is a phrase that we've heard over and over, but it really shines in these collaborative change methods. And it seems kind of obvious, right? If 4 people in different departments see the same problem from different angles and have different areas of expertise from which to draw a possible solution, it is only when you get the 4 of them together that you come up with a solution that accounts for all of those perspectives and all of those areas of expertise. Without it, any one of them can't solve the whole thing, but the 4 of them can. Liberating Structures talks about how often surprising results emerge. Open space technology focuses on emergent structure and control. that helps people take control. World Cafe describes the collective intelligence of the group. Appreciative Inquiry talks about the collective wisdom, but it is this synergy that makes the collaborative effort really work.